You sent us Jesus once, and you're going to send him again. And our eyes will behold him. The stars will applaud with thunders of praise. We've seen stars twinkle. We've just never heard them applaud. But that moment, where we behold him face to face, because of that moment is this moment. And while we wait to behold you, we do ask that we could hear you today. In the name of Jesus. Amen. Johann von Goethe, the German poet and theater director, gave these words. I'll put them on the screen for you. Dream no small dreams, for they have no power to move the hearts of men. Daniel Burnham, the renowned architect of Chicago, said something similar. Maybe he borrowed from the German poet. Make no little plans, for they have no magic to stir men. Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir us. We're stirred by big plans. Our dreams have the power to move us. I wonder if that's exactly what Jesus was thinking when he said in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, I'll put this line on the screen. We've seen it for the last couple of weeks. You will be my witnesses. Where? What's on your mind, Jesus? How big you thinking? To the ends of the earth. That's a big dream. Yesterday, I had a conversation with my dad, and talking to him about something. He said, hey, what is the population of Greeley out there? I said, it's at least 60,000 people. I thought, well, I should probably verify that. Actually, it's 110,000. What if God said, hey, I want you to reach 110,000 people, Greeley? Okay. That's a lot, God. That's a big, could we start with something like Meade? There's like half a dozen people there. We could start with something we can manage and move. I don't know how big Meade is. God, can we 110,000? No, God didn't even start with Greeley. I want you to go to the ends of the earth. And Paul is mobilized by that dream. He picks it up, and he says later in the book, chapter 13, verse 47, for this is what the Lord said. He's commanded us to do this. I have made you a light. A light. I have made you a light. Hold that thought. It's going to come back and bite you. I have made you a light for the Gentiles, that you may bring salvation. Well, how far you want to? How big's your dream? To the ends of the earth. Dream no small dreams, for they have no power to move the hearts of men. Dream big. And that's where we're going with our little spring series. We are a missionary band. To the ends of the earth. And to some of us, just across the street feels like it's the end of the earth. We're comfortable. I want to introduce our missionary. Come on, we talked about David Livingston. The smoke of 1,000 fires is burning in my heart. I want to introduce our missionary today. I don't know if you'll like him more or less after this. I'm just tell you, whatever you think of cow's milk or goat's milk, any other animal milk is fine, is your business. I'm not into goat's milk, cow's milk. Now don't, I'm not trying to be righteous here. I eat my ice cream, and I have consumed cheese at some point in my existence. I just don't like drinking milk from a cow. I don't know what it is. So soy. And if you get the vanilla, don't get the unsweetened kind. Unsweetened is like chewing pills. It's just terrible. But you get a little soy vanilla milk there. Did you bring a cup? There's a little extra. All right. It's good. Dr. Harry Miller, missionary to China, landed there and found there were huge groups of people that couldn't have access, because of poverty, couldn't have access to milk. So he began to work with the soybean and found that he could provide milk to the impoverished people of China. Well, it caught on, and wouldn't you know it, around the world, we're drinking soy milk because of Dr. Harry Miller. Let me put his picture on the screen. Dr. Harry Willis Miller, born July 1, 1879, Ludlow Falls, Ohio. His dad, John, his mom, Amanda, his boy, out on a farm, boyhood days spent out on the farm. At age 15, his parents heard the message about the Sabbath and became Seventh-day Adventist. At 15, shortly after, he decided he would join them, was baptized as well, went to an academy, Mount Vernon Academy in Ohio, graduated, and then went to American Medical Missionary College. It was the medical school attached to Battle Creek Sanitarium, what we would call hospital, the largest medical institution in that day in the U.S. He went to the medical school. He was the youngest member of his class. Of course, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg is right there, learning in the shadow of a man with a big dream. Harry graduated, the second youngest in his class, graduated medical doctor at age 21. Got some catching up to do, the rest of us, huh? At age 21, he was the second youngest in his class. There was one younger. A young, pretty girl. He said, hey, if you're smarter than I am, I'm going to marry you. That's the only way to beat this thing. And so he picked out Miss Maud Thompson and married her. Both of them. To Chicago they went as medical doctors. He spent a year as a intern doing EENT. We call it ENT now. It's the eyes, ear, nose, and throat. Back then, he got all four of them. I don't know where the eye doctors were, but they were the ENTs of the day. A year into Chicago. Now, they were offered some very nice positions. But here's the catch. Every missionary, every man and woman that God calls to be a missionary, by the way, that's you. That's me. Every one of us, we've been called to be missionaries. That's what following Jesus is. I hate to break it to you, but that's what following Jesus is. To be a missionary, to take what he's given you and to let it out to the world around you. Every missionary, though, has an Achilles tendon, a weak spot, a spot that Satan has studied. Now, some of them have more than one, and that would be me, of course. I've got those spots that Satan knows. He's studied us. He's researched us. He knows those areas that he can hang us up on, hold us back, keep us bound. He knows your tendencies. He knows your addictions. He knows your epigenetics. He studied you. He studied your history, your family's history. He watches your face and the expressions. And so he knows. Whoosh. For the Millers, it was financial. The idea of being stable financially was a deep hook. If I'm being completely transparent with you, I would have to admit that while there are several areas that Satan knows I am weak in, financial stability is one of them. He knows. All the time, Michael, don't give so much. Don't do that. Maybe you won't have enough. Come on, just make sure you're okay and your family and splurge a little. It hits the best of us. It hit the Millers. They were offered lucrative positions. Raymond Moore, in his biography of Dr. Miller, It says they had the opportunity to be provided well for, but they knew in their hearts that God had called them to be missionaries, foreign missionaries. And so they gave it up. They turned their back on the position, headed off to China. Years later, they were back on furlough, back for a break, and Harry's uncle, Uncle Ben, back in Ohio, a very wealthy man who had paid for his medical school, was ill and said, Harry, would you come out and care for me a little bit? Well, Harry had no problem. Said, this is the guy that paid my medical bills, my medical school bills. Went out to Ohio, stayed with him until his Uncle Ben passed away, caring for him. His Aunt Catherine, who then had inherited the estate, said, listen, here's the deal. You stay right here, you care for me, and when I go, everything is yours. We'll rewrite the will. Everything. Back, of course, at the turn of the century, now we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. The rest of their life, not a worry would they have. Sounded good to the Millers. They signed up. The estate was signed over to them upon her death, Aunt Catherine's death. A year into it, the Millers are so conscience-stricken. They know they have disobeyed God's call in their life. One morning, Harry admits he was shocked at how much he had come to enjoy that life. He was shocked. The biographer Raymond Moore says he made the decision then. He had to go. He had to go. He broke it to Aunt Catherine. He would find somebody else to replace him and to care for her until she passed, but they had to go. The biographer Raymond Moore says that according to Harry's journals, that Harry saw himself far richer after having left, filled with happiness and satisfaction by following God's calling. Aunt Catherine eventually died, and the estate was split up several directions, but not a single dollar to the Millers. His legacy in China, after decades of serving as a missionary, as a gospel missionary and a medical missionary, he is credited with having started, small dreams, started and establishing 19 hospitals. He considers, though, his greatest accomplishment outside of sharing Jesus with individuals, he considers his greatest accomplishment soy milk. It didn't stop at soy milk, by the way. He continued to work and established a business that made soy foods, eventually selling to an organization called Loma Linda Foods. And he spent the rest of his life working with soy products. So as you sink your teeth into that juicy Big Frank, you know a little bit of the backstory. Hollington Ton, the ambassador from China to the U.S. during the time that the Millers were missionaries in China. It says, Dr. Miller's contribution to the cause of Christianity has been no less important than his contribution to the field of medicine. Through his efforts, so he reached both medicine and the gospel. Through his efforts, thousands of persons were converted to the Christian faith in the half century in which he labored here in the Far East. Many of his patients were inspired by his selfless service to join the faith which made such service possible. Do you catch what the ambassador said? I don't know if the ambassador himself was converted. But he says, Dr. Miller lived in such a way that the very patients he treated said, we want the life you have. We want what's inside of you. We don't just want your treatment. We want your life. And they are converted to Christianity. It's your life. That's it. The ambassador is right about Dr. Miller. He's right about how the gospel works. Dr. Miller's, this is his words, his basic belief. Put it on the screen for you. To preach the Christian way effectively, one must first practice it in daily life. He's saying we don't give something, we live something, and that gives something. In order to preach the gospel, we must live the gospel. In order to be missionaries, we must be converted. We have to have it inside of us. Dr. Miller was known for his humility. He was a consulting physician for several of the U.S. presidents, President Taft, President Wilson. He treated nearly every important ruler of China from the founding of the republic, unnumbered ambassadors, senators, princes. But when he left the Far East for the last time and returned home, made his home in Southern California, he simply boarded a jet, said goodbye to those who were closest to him, and returned home, asking for no accolades, no applause. He had done the work that God had called him to do. It was one Sabbath morning in 1977, January 1, to be exact. Dr. Miller, then residing in Riverside, still doing research for Loma Linda Foods, came back from a walk one Sabbath morning, a little extra tired. Minutes after he had arrived home, he had a massive hemorrhage. And he was gone at 98 years of age. The Los Angeles Times in California wrote of the well-known physician, surgeon, Dr. Harry Willis Miller. Listen to how they put it. The Los Angeles Times. Dr. Harry Willis Miller, who is spiritually 22, physically 65, chronologically 98, didn't exhibit any sign of arrogance, which is often found in people with his great accomplishments. His wholehearted devotion to the great physician left him no place to look for accolades himself. He served a people group that has often been known to be hard to get into, but he was known to live amongst them and to be one of them, so that they could hear and see his life. The final lines of his biography by Raymond Moore. Let me read these lines to you. There is a secret which must be learned before the sun will shine again over China and the world. Before the chains of weariness and oblivion will be loosed, before the shackles of blight and starvation are broken, the secret does not reside in the crimson flag of the communists, nor in technology's rewards. Rather, it lies largely in the hearts of men who have learned in the refining furnace of selfless service to love their neighbors as themselves. They are the ones who know the author of love and who are able to convey the heartfelt assurance of his grace to the world. Did you catch the biographer's words? There is a secret which must be learned before the sun will shine again on China or any other place, on your neighborhood, on Longmont, on Meade, on Greeley, before the sun shines on them and breaks the chains of weariness and looses the shackles. Before the sun can shine again, the secret must be learned. What's the secret? The secret is learned in the refining furnace of selfless service to the neighbors. To know the author of love and to have the heartfelt assurance that then you can share. The missionary is the one who has it in them. It's not about what you take, that community service day, that outreach day, once a semester, once a year. Sabbath afternoon, I did a little missionary service. That betrays what a missionary actually is. A missionary is one with their whole heart devoted. Their life, whether they are a physician or a businessman or a clerk or a teacher, A missionary is one on the inside, long before the outside. I ask you the question, if it's not you that God could use to be that one, who? And if it's not now, then when is it supposed to happen? I understand Dr. Miller lived in a time that physicians were general practitioners, but he did become a specialist in his own right. He was recognized especially for his work on the thyroid, performing over 6,000 thyroid surgeries. Now, to those of us that don't have the overactive or the underactive thyroid, sometimes we miss it altogether. It's a quiet gland sitting right there, the butterfly-shaped gland right in your neck. Of course, if you have problems with it, you know all about it. But the rest of us, we're oblivious to it. We talk about our heart, our lungs. We know a lot about our stomach. Every once in a while, we talk about our spleen or our liver, kidneys. But here's this little gland bumping out 2 hormones. And I've got them written down here, but I'm not going to humor you with a pronunciation. It's out of my, I'm out of my field here. But these 2 hormones, it secretes into the bloodstream. And these 2 hormones, I'm reading, impact every cell in our body. That little quiet gland that you never go into the doctor, they put the stethoscope up there. Oh, okay, yeah, we're here. It's working just fine. No, it quietly does its work. Dr. Miller, the one who quietly did the gospel and did his missionary service in the Far East with no applause and no accolades. His biographer didn't even think he would get the notes to be able to write about his life. The thyroid's a perfect example of the life, the testimony of Dr. Harry Miller. He used this idea that influence, it's my life, will influence. It's the missionary inside of me that serves the world around me. Influence, it's a combination of 2 Latin words, the in and the fluence, flowing. So in something comes and out it flows. Let's make up a new word. Let's put it on the screen for you. Gospel-luence. Gospel is 2 Old English words, good spell or good story. It's a good news. Let's combine it with that Latin word, luens. It's the good news flowing out of us. That's a missionary. The good news just flows out of you. Well, when? Sabbath afternoons when there's outreach Sabbath? No! On Monday mornings, on Sunday nights, on Thursday afternoons. It just flows out of you. People see it. Maybe they'll never tell you on this planet, I watched you and I saw how you treated your spouse. I saw how you treated your patients. I saw how you treated your neighbor. I saw Jesus in how you taught your students. Gospel-luence. It's a good word. Coming to a dictionary near you soon. But it's what Dr. Miller believed. Let me put his words back up on the screen. To preach the Christian way effectively, to reach the world. Does this mean we're not intentional? No, it means we are intentional. Yes, absolutely. We go out of our way to speak of Jesus. But it starts because it's inside of us. It's not something we have. We don't carry a missionary. We are the missionary. All right. Let me see if I can drive it home with a story. A story of Brian Robson. Remember his story? Oh, yeah, there's this picture. A happy fellow there. As you'll find out, he wasn't always happy. He was from Wales. He went to Australia to work with the railroad. Had a promising job. They paid his way. So he owes them. He's committed. Got a contract. But he gets there and finds the accommodations, the hostel that they've appointed him is rat infested. It is just putrid. He is not staying there. What does he do? He doesn't have money to get home. He doesn't have any money. He's contracted to them. He travels around for a few days while he's waiting for his job to start, and he makes up his mind. He is not staying here. Makes a couple of friends, a couple of Irishmen there to work for the railroad as well, John and Paul. And Brian hangs out with them. One day they're walking back to the hostel, and they pass a shipping company. And the shipping company has this slogan, "We can move anything, anywhere." We can move anything, anywhere. Brian says, maybe they could move us home. It was meant as a joke, but it birthed this idea. Wait a minute. If they can move anything, anywhere, why not? He goes and does his research, finds out exactly what it would take, what size box it would take to move him back home. He finds out that he can fit with his suitcase, somehow he didn't want to leave that behind, in a 30 by 26 by 38 inch box. So you're 30 inches by 26 by 38 inch box. And the plan is hatched. His two friends, John and Paul, the Irishmen, they agree to help ship him. He's going to he puts in his little crate there a pillow, a torch, a bottle for water, a bottle for what has to come out, and a tiny hammer. That's going to be his exit out of the wooden crate once he gets to his destination. He's going to take a short flight over to Sydney, and then Sydney to London, and out of the box, and from there he knows his way home. So he crawls into the box, bids John and Paul farewell, thanks them for their help. They deliver him to the shipping company, no problem. IOU on the back end, so whoever receives the crate now has to pay. And off he goes. And Brian says, for the first 10 minutes, it was great. It was comfortable for the first 10 minutes. Well, the flight was a little longer than 10 minutes. 90 minutes to Sydney. Oh, he said it was torturous. His muscles began to cramp, and there wasn't a lot of oxygen in the plane. And just that 90-minute flight over to Sydney, my knees began to cramp, and when they're stuck, pressed up against your chest, oh, he said it was painful. But painful was about to get worse. When they got to Sydney, the nice guys that were unloading the plane crates had no mind for what was upside or downside, and they just rolled him out onto the tarmac upside down for 22 hours. He sat on the tarmac upside down. Finally, he was loaded onto a plane. Oh, he said he was in terrible pain. He was having dreams and in and out of consciousness. They put him on the plane, and that's how his flight went. At one point he dreamed he was falling out of the plane. He's screaming in the belly of the plane. Finally lands. It's unloaded to a warehouse. Oh, he's barely holding on. And then he hears the workers. Wait a minute. This is the wrong accent. Who? Where am I? Well, he didn't know. But the plane from Sydney to London was full, and so they put him on a flight to Los Angeles. And then a Los Angeles flight would take him to London. Well, that night in the Los Angeles airport, he couldn't take it. He knew he would die if he stayed in any longer. And so he pulled out his little flashlight, waiting till everything was quiet, pulled out his flashlight, turned it on, bumped, and it fell. And so now he's looking for it in the box. Where did that light go? Well, there's two workers headed out of the warehouse, and they see the box lit up. Wait a minute. Well, that wasn't their biggest surprise. Obviously, it got bigger when they got closer, and they saw between the slats, hey, wait a minute, there's a body in there. Brian Robson was taken out, sent to the hospital for a few days. He's in Los Angeles. He's just dying to get home. The news media is all over this story. So Pan Am did him a good turn, gave him a seat on a plane, first class, from Los Angeles to London. When he got to London, the news media backed the welcome area, the man who tried to ship himself home. Here's the point. We've often seen that light that we're supposed to take to the Gentiles, like the flashlight that we can drop, we can pick up, we can shine it, we put it back on the shelf right there. I'll pick it up next Sabbath. We'll go do a little mission work. Maybe we'll do a mission trip. Woo, that'll grab your light. But that's not what Paul said in Acts. Do you remember what he said? God has commanded us to be a light, us to be the light to the Gentiles. He's taking what Jesus said in Matthew 5 on the Sermon on the Mount. Let me put the words on the screen for you. Verse 14. You are the light. I'm not giving you the light. You won't have the light. You will be the light. All of a sudden, we read this much different. Wait a minute. It's not that I pick up the Bible in a Bible study and go give a Bible study to somebody and I'm a missionary, and then I go home, and until next Tuesday night when I give them another Bible study, I'm back to normal. We are it. We are the light. We're the missionary. You can't hide the light. Verse 15, people don't put light under a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it out on a stand. It gives light to everyone in the house. You were never meant to be a secret agent for the kingdom of Jesus. You were meant to let your light shine. This is not a covert operation for you. Hey, nobody can know. I'm going to share Jesus. You were meant to shine. Verse 16, in the same way, let your light shine before others. They will see your good deeds, Dr. Miller. They will see who you are and what you do and how you treat people and the hospitals you raise up, and they will then glorify your Father. They will want what you have. You are the light. God doesn't have a backup plan to this. He doesn't have this, well, if they don't pick up the light, I'll have someone else pick up the light. It's you, it's me, it's us. We are it. We're his plan to give hope to the ends of the earth. He doesn't have angels on standby. Look, if they don't do it, if they just wait this thing out, then we'll do it. We're his plan. Unlike Brian in that crate, we don't hold the light and then turn it on. We are it. We are the receiver of the love of Jesus. And that receiver, it's this chemical reaction, then produces the light in us. The gospel has to have a giver, Jesus. It has to have a receiver, us. And then we become the living gospel, the living picture of Jesus to the world. It's not something we give, it's something we are. It's your life. It's your life and my life that God plans to give to the world. He doesn't have a sub for you if you don't show up. It's you. It's me. Dwight Nelson, in his book, Pursuing the Passion of Jesus, poses this little quip. Many wonder why God doesn't act. God, there's hopeless, helpless people around here. God wonders why so many of his people don't care. What do you think my plan is? What do you think I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to work through you, gospel-luence to the world. Ian Bounds, mighty prayer warrior, in his book, Power Through Prayer, we are always looking for better methods. Hey, let's get a committee together. Let's make a plan. God is looking for men and women. That's it. That's his method. That's his plan. He said, all I need is people. Just give me people. I'll put the love of heaven in them. I'll pour the gospel into them. The grace will then flow out of them. To preach, back to Dr. Miller, to preach the Christian way effectively, one must first practice. It's your life. That's the light. Pastor Nestor and the evangelism team put together a little bag for us. You saw them as you came in. We're calling this the missionary bag. All right? A missionary bag. There are flyers and invite cards and Bible study invites. There's a pack of gum in here. This is not for the missionary. This is the missionary's toolbox. What about a pack of gum? Hey, what if you say, I don't know how to approach people. I don't know how to break the ice. Take the pack of gum, walk up to somebody and say, hey, I got an extra pack of gum. You want it? Oh, wait, you got a better idea? Well, then do your better idea. You don't have to do, you could chew the gum if you got a different idea. There's some bubbles in here. There's a Jolly Rancher in here. Bubbles. You say, I'm 7 years old. What am I supposed to do for Jesus? You take the bubbles to your neighbor and say, hey, we got these at church. A whistle is in here. There's a book. Hey, a manual, how to give a Bible study. I need to know how to give a Bible study. I'm on a mission. This is your missionary bag. You do not take this bag and hand it to somebody. This is your toolbox. You put it in your car or by your door, and you use the contents to be a missionary to your neighborhood, to your workplace, to your friends. What's the goal? Well, after you empty the bag this week, we'll talk about next week. But just this week, you got this week. Take your bag and go to the world. I think there's even in the back, you say, oh man, I need something bigger, better. I think in the back there's even candy bars with a little invitation, just join me at church. That's all you can do? You don't even know what to say. You just walk up to somebody and start being a missionary for the cause of Jesus. Here's some tools. Use them. There's some invitations. No more fear. You heard about that. Pastor Nestor's going to lead us in that. There's a series coming up, Love and War, coming up. It's live right now. It's on demand. You can go watch it. It is incredible. It comes at the gospel, at the story of our redemption, a totally different way, at the prophetic message. It comes at it a little different way than you might be used to. But it is something you can share to your friends. Hey guys, check out Love and War. Go be a missionary. If there's anything we can do to help, anybody you want us to pray for, our connect number, 970-279-3432. If you want to make a decision, like Cheryl did, to take a stand for Jesus, you text that number, you fill out a connect card in the pew in front of you. Let's go and be the light that God's called us to be. We're going to sing this song, The Unfinished Work. It's a commitment hymn.
Facing a task unfinished that drives us to our knees, a need that undiminished
And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace until again we meet in worship. Amen. Thank you, guys.
That should be good.